Hello and good day. This is Punchline. We are First News Nation. I am Sammy Ajufo. It's always a privilege to have you join us on this side of the political divide. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us on all our social media handles. If you have not, we encourage you to follow us on all our social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, as you see here at First News Nation. Enable notifications on all these platforms. So every time we have a new episode of the show, you'll be the first to know. I am Sammy. One more time, thank you for joining us. And don't forget, this audio will also be on our online radio, News Nation FM. Thank you once again. Let's go for a short break. When we come back, let's talk about the crisis in the house of Akpabio. You're welcome back. It's still Punchline. We're still First News Nation, and we're talking about the Red Chamber under the new Senate President, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. Today, we're going to be discussing if there is crisis in the house of Akpabio. It seems to be that since the inauguration of the senators of this new dispensation, that there has been one crisis after the other. When we talk about the ministerial screenings and those who were told to bow and go, and the fact that certain people got a bigger, stronger bashing than other people. You remember the screening of former governor of Kaduna State, Malam El-Rufai, and you also remember the controversial one of Festus Keyamo, who is today the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development. Many of those things that caused some ruckus in the Red Chamber, and it had become, somewhat of a disturbing news about the Senate President's continual stay in office. We have also seen clips of discussions in the Senate and some kind of back and forth between senators and the Senate President. One of them is former APC National Chairman, former Governor of Edo State, His Excellency Senator Adams Oshomole, who had come out to, on several occasions, go against the rules in some sort, and he was always being cautioned by the Senate President, or respectfully being cautioned. Also see that there have been some places where the Senate President have made some mistakes. Some people say he had shot the bed. You remember when he, in the Senate plenary, at the end of the plenary, said he's going to be sending some prayers to bank accounts, into account numbers, and it generated an uproar in Nigeria when people were talking about that. You also remember that it was also a controversial issue when the Senate was giving a palliative, some palliatives and some amount of money into hundreds of billions. And Nigerians were asking, in these days where the economy is so hard, the Senate is receiving such amount of money. Senate President and his spokespeople had to come out and say the money was actually to fix their offices. So it's been from frying pan to fire for the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. You also remember when he made a statement copying the president in a meme that said, "Let the poor breathe." And Nigerians did not take that one lying down as well. It seems anything the Senate President does in public, even in the Senate chambers, is going to be a source of controversy. Some of us are quite disappointed with the line of questioning for the Senate, the ministerial nominees. And it was quite shabby. It did tell a lot and bring down the image or the new brand that the Senate President was trying to bring. Now, the latest story is Senator Ali Ndume, a man who has been in the Senate for quite a while. He tried contesting for Senate presidency in the same run that the former Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, was also vying for Senate presidency. Quite a number of people believed that he was going to clinch it, and it did not go in his way. It didn't go in his favor. But all the same, he has still been a strong representative of his people, Senator Ali Ndume. You remember him. This time around, he stormed out of the Red Chamber because of a disagreement when he said that, some point of order was not being followed, and the Senate President ruled him out of order causing Senator Ali Ndume to walk out of the building. Now, for those who are keen watchers of the Red Chamber, you would know Ali Ndume has been in the Senate. So every time he stands up, if it's not to make a contribution, is to correct some misnomer, especially for new senators or senators who make mistakes when presenting their bills or their motions. But this time around, I don't think it went in his favor, and the man stepped out of the building. In fact, what he said was backed up by a senator representing Kogi West, Senator Sunday Karimi, who sustained his point of order, which was still removed by the Senate President. Senator Ali Ndume had also blamed the Senate President before now for disclosing holiday allowance. That's what I'm talking about. The prayers, he said, and Ali Ndume says, well, he shouldn't have been announcing that one in public. Can the Senate President avoid all these mishaps, these mistakes? That's what's going to be what people are looking at. What's the future going to be like for the Senate President? Is the Senate President going to be allowed to make certain statements? Because right now, the Senate is more visible than the other Senate presidents. In the old dispensation, in all the different republics, the Senate presidents have not been as televised as this one is. And so every statement that has been made has been criticized, has been put under the lens. And now, Senator Godswill Akpabio doesn't seem to have the ears of a lot of people. Remember, Ali Ndume was on TV when he disclosed that President Tinubu had gone in the evening, in the night, to go and try and convince senators to vote for Senator Godswill Akpabio to become the number 3 man in Nigeria. Well, let's move on to other things. Of course, after that, we heard about an impeachment allegation against the Senate President. Some other senators came out to say there's nothing like that, but others believe there's actually an impeachment. There were some serious issues that were concerns from senators from, I believe, the North Central, who felt that they were shortchanged. Still under Senator Godswill Akpabio, still under this dispensation. It's still the same conversations really going on. Now, we also see that recently, Senator representing Adamawa North, former Senator Elisha Abbo, was sacked from his senatorial position on Monday, 16th October, by the court as a court judgment favored his opponent, Johanna of PDP, and he has accused the Senate President of having a hand in his removal. You remember Senator Elisha Abbo was very popular during the sex toy scandal, and where he slapped someone in a sex toy shop. You remember that? Yeah, that matter died down, but he will never be forgotten as a senator of the sex toy shop. But, you know, he's now claiming that the Senate President had a hand in his ordeal, had a hand in the fact that he was removed by the court. How that is made possible, I really don't know. This is an election petition that has moved to the Court of Appeal, and which means that he will not be returning to the Senate. Well, his seat has been taken over, and maybe in 2027, he probably will have an opportunity to return. Okay, but that's not the end of the story. Still more problems from Senator Elisha Abbo to the Senate President. He also stated that he got information of the plans by a reputable source that 4 other senators will equally follow him on his way out of the Senate, of which he mentions Senator Ojus Okalu will be next. That's the allegation Senator Elisha Abbo is making, that from what he heard, 4 other senators will also have their way out. I don't know how. How does he know? The only way they will leave is if a court of competent jurisdiction is kick them out, maybe for election irregularities or something. So we're going to be watching to see if this happens, and if this happens, it will point, all fingers and all eyes will be pointed straight at the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. Does Godswill Akpabio actually have a hand in the ordeal of Senator Elisha Abbo? Let's go for a break. When we get back, we'll round this up. Okay, welcome back. It's still Punchline, and we're still talking about the crisis in House Akpabio. As the Senate and Senate President. Is there an issue? Is there a trouble in the House? Is all well, or is the roof on fire? Senate President has been hit left, right, and center with quite a number of things, especially emanating from his time as Senate President. He has been relatively quiet. He has not been making public statements. And that's one thing that is really unique about this Senate President, including the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Previous administrations, we've had very outward, very loquacious speakers and Senate President. Look back, Ahmed Lawan, we remember him as the rubber stamp Senate President. While he was Senate President, Femi Gbajabiamila, who today is the Chief of Staff, was also very vocal. Even if you go beyond that, you go to the administrations before that, you will see that Senate Presidents and Speakers have been very, very public, very outward. But this one, Senator Akpabio and Senator and Honorable Tijani Abbas have been very, very quiet, under the radar. But it doesn't seem to go well for the Senate President. A lot of allegations, aside Senator Elisha Abbo accusing the Senate President of having a hand in his ordeal, which is premised by the fact that he has been kicked out of the Senate and a new person will be taking over his seat from the PDP. That means APC has lost one seat in the Senate. Now, he is also alleging that the Senate President planted an impeachment rumor to cause a strife between the President and the Northern politicians. A lot of allegations that are being leveled against the Senate President, and we don't know how the Senate will respond. How will the Senate President respond? Will he keep quiet? Will he sue the former Senator Elisha Abbo to court? What's going to happen? But we are not yet done with seeing the issues that Godswill Akpabio will be facing, especially, interestingly, from his own party, the APC. We've had a lot of friction between himself and some leading members of the party, some ranking members of the Senate. Is there really an impeachment threat at the Senate President? We're going to watch to see how that pans out. But in the meantime, it's going to be really interesting to know how Senator Ali Ndume will respond, because Ali Ndume was also a factor in the election of Godswill Akpabio as Senate President. Will there be a peace talk between the Senator Ali Ndume and the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Will there be some kind of meeting within the APC? We're understanding now they have a national chairman who we haven't really seen what he's done. We've not really seen his political weight. I'm talking about former governor of Kano State, Ganduje. We have not seen his weight. Maybe this will be a test of the mettle of the Senate President and the new APC national chairman. Let's see how that goes. Will we see more things coming from Senator Godswill Akpabio? Will there be more mishaps? Will there be more missteps? Well, that's left to be seen. We'll bring you more as the stories unfold. I am Sammy Ajufo. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all our social media handles as you see here: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at First News Nation. You can also listen to the audio on News Nation FM. I am Sammy Ajufo once again. Thanks for joining us as usual. Stay safe.